make some balls. We are going to be finally taking care of my naughty treat phase. Is this like a repeat of the last time we cooked together? Huge batch of delicious treats which are raw, no bake, and just packed with really healthy things like nuts, seeds, natural sugars like honeys and maple syrups, and just everything that's good and nourishing for my body and my bub. I thought we could make these up together and chat through maybe some of the downsides of living in the country. Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel, welcome back to our home. I'm really excited for today's episode because we are going to be finally taking care of my naughty treat phase. I have been obsessed with buying cookies, buying cakes, buying cupcakes, buying lollies, and I am sick and tired of putting that much refined sugar and shit into my body. So today I'm planning on making a huge batch of delicious treats which are raw, no bake, and just packed with really healthy things like nuts, seeds, natural sugars like honeys and maple syrups, and just everything that's good and nourishing for my body and my bub. These are going to be perfect to put into the freezer for any time you have naughty cravings. They're also going to be really powerful for postpartum for myself particularly, because I'll be able to quickly grab it, snack on it while I'm feeding the baby or up in the middle of the night or just craving something sweet like I have been. So I've pulled out all of my ingredients, which I'm actually running low on quite a few things. But we're going to make the most of what we have. We've got plenty of almonds and my seed mix, which is hemp, chia, linseed. I think that's it. I think that's all I have in there. And just utilizing lots of dried fruit. So I have figs, I've got apricots, and I've got dates. Let me chat through the 4 things that I'm planning to make today. So let's start with the healthiest, and I guess it'll diminish as we go down. No, they're all pretty healthy, so that's alright. So today I'm going to make some apricot Bliss balls. I used to love these as a kid. I remember buying like hundreds of them from the canteen because they had like 3 for 5 cents or something, and I would save up all my money and spend it on those. I'm also going to make some raw fig and nut balls as well. So both of these are going to be quick grab snacks that I can store in the freezer and just take out a few at a time for the week so that they don't go bad. And then the naughtier treats, I would like to make a raw caramel slice. I've made it several times in the past and it's so delicious and so yummy. The majority of the ingredients and like the caramel part is made with dates, which I'm going to rehydrate some dry ones. And this recipe is so worth making. The chocolate that you put on top of it as well can easily be separated from the rest of the slice and just made separately as chocolate that you put in the freezer. And the last thing I'm going to make is actually something really interesting. I'm going to make some cookies without an oven. These are cinnamon roll cookies, which sound so delicious. One of the main ingredients is oats and also a nut butter, which I have picked tahini or sesame butter because one, I love the taste. It's a really neutral flavor, but it's also packed with calcium. So this is going to be really good postpartum to keep my nutrients up. Nothing more to it. I thought we could make these up together and chat through maybe some of the downsides of living in the country. There's not many of them. We really do love where we live, but after making that last video in Marimbula and chatting through the reasons we love living in the country 5 years on, I thought this would be a nice contrast and also just give us something to chat about as we go. I think one of the main downsides of living in the country, and it's kind of a blessing and a curse at the same time. Hear me out and you'll understand. So having a limited amount of restaurants and like food options, and I'm not talking like there's plenty of restaurants here, but a lot of them serve fairly similar types of food. Very Australiana, seafood, pub grub, you know, that kind of stuff. What I'm missing in my life is all of the Asian food we grew up eating in Glen Waverley, or the Spanish restaurants along the waterways, all of the cultural differences in restaurants throughout Melbourne. There was just so much of it, and I think we were very spoiled for food choices. That now living in the country, there's such a scarce amount, and our expectations, and then also just like what we got used to, means it's really hard to feel satisfied if something's not quite to the standard we're used to. It makes us sound like such foodies or like food snobs. I promise. Actually, no, we probably are. But the reason I say this is kind of a blessing in disguise is because we've gotten to actually make a lot of the foods that we love. Like, we learned how to make really delicious ramen and curries, homemade pizza when we have an oven, sourdough bread. Like, there's a lot of things that we have been able to make ourselves to compensate for that. A lot of our family recipes as well. So we don't feel like we're missing out completely. But when we do go to Melbourne, there's definitely like a urgency or a need to get as much food as we can while we're down there. Alright. So what I'm making here is like a chia seed lemon mixture, which I think is going to end up being our binder, or like our egg, to make sure that the balls stay together, which is really cool. I don't use lemon a lot in recipes because I don't often like citrus, or especially like lemon curd, lemon slice. Yeah, those kinds of things I don't like, but I'm hoping it'll taste good in this. Just having dry fruit on hand like this in jars is really visually appealing and a really great way to encourage you to eat more nuts and fruits. My mum always has a bowl sitting on the table with some nuts, so that as you sit there chatting or cooking dinner, you're often snacking on them. I like displaying all my food so that I know what I have, and it kind of encourages me to go, oh yeah, I could add a bit of dried apricot to my porridge, or I could add this nut mix to everything, because it's accessible. Don't make healthy food hard to find. Whether it's for kids, whether it's for your family, whether it's for you, make it as accessible as possible and you're going to snack on it a lot more. I don't need to chop this up too much because it's going to all get blended together. I just want to give the blender a bit of a head start. So we've got a cup of apricots, a cup of coconut flakes, or coconut, desiccated coconut in my case, half a cup of oats, half a cup of almonds, and some vanilla extract, just like a teaspoon. And I'm just going to blend that up in batches. It already smells really good. Right. Do I have power? Yes. What's your problem? Is this like a repeat of the last time we cooked together? Like, why is everything breaking on me when I need it? I think my blender is fried. Well, that's upsetting. Look, I'm not completely angry because this has been a part of my life for maybe 8 or 9 years, so it's done a really good job. I had to fix the blade at one point, so I'm not upset too bad. It just makes today a little harder. Whatever. What we'll do instead is chop everything. Actually, do I have... I do have a food processor. Lucky I'm going to Melbourne soon. Bring that chia seed egg back. Yeah, it's a pretty like wet mix. See, like it sticks together fairly well. Nice. Love that. Let's make some balls. I'm going to make them about this size and roll them in coconut flakes. Yum! And I'm going to store them in a silicone bag. So these are going to be great for when like you're not craving chocolate, when you're craving something more neutral. You could opt out I think you could opt out the lemon juice for just some water with the chia seeds. And that'll take away the lemon flavour if, like me, you may not be a big fan of it. But I kind of like the lemon in it. It's nice and subtle. Mixing together nuts and fruits is a really great way to get the most out of your fruits and reduce the amount that the fructose and the glucose level affects your bloodstream. By having nuts, you're actually going to get the most nutrients out of it, and you're going to allow those sugars to break down slower, which is better for you and your energy levels. How good! For our next treat, the main hero ingredient is going to be the dried figs. The process of the recipe is pretty much the same as the apricot balls. We're just using different ingredients and then mixing them together. So one of the other downsides of living in the countryside, for me at least, is the proximity to family. I am very family oriented, and so moving away from family has just meant that I'm not seeing them as often, clearly in person. We try to catch up on Zooms and that's really nice, but it never quite satisfies the way that catching up in person can. I think also with young children, so with my niece and now with our baby, it means we don't have the help and support of our family here, which, I mean, we've got our friends that have offered, but it's just not the same as the relationship that you have with your family when it comes to raising kids or asking them to do what might seem inappropriate or too much to ask a friend to do. One for me. Nuts and seeds are full of omega-3 fats, which are really vital and amazing for your brain. And coconut oil or natural oils are really good at helping you to digest this and to process it properly, and also maintain your energy levels. So this is going to be a really supercharged snack. Hope you guys are loving the recipes as much as I am. I am snacking on all the leftovers and the balls themselves as well. It's so delicious and I'm so looking forward to having them. Now we're going to move on to the more naughtier of the treats. This particular recipe is the cinnamon roll cookies, which I'm really excited to try. The actual recipe though calls for icing sugar or powdered sugar as well as these ingredients, but I feel like that's going to be way too sweet, so I'm going to add these ones first and then see if it needs the icing sugar. I wanted to also add, as far as not being close to family, with like young kids growing up, I just feel like there's so many moments that I have missed in my niece's life, in my sister's life, and my mum's life just over the last 5 years, and that's just going to feel more and more like that. We have done our best to make sure that we're catching up once a year for a big like holiday type of trip. Usually they'll come up here and they take it as a really great opportunity to see around the area and also holiday while coming and visiting us. So I love that. But it's just like the little things. It's the going out together to experience things that I feel like I'm missing out on. It's the family dinners to celebrate birthdays or special occasions. Those things I think are what I'm missing the most. And as I said, we do try to make the most of the time when we are together by going and doing lots of things, treating it like kind of like a holiday. But I guess that's kind of the next downside of country life living. Because you live so far away from family, when you do head down to visit, you're often trying to juggle seeing everyone at the same time, and it gets really chaotic really quickly. You feel really exhausted and at the same time feel like you didn't see everyone you wanted to. So that can be a huge downside, especially during Christmas time, when it's already a crazy period of time, and then you're adding on the stress of and the pressure of having to see everyone. I wish it was more balanced with visiting in both places, but of course Sam and I have a life that we've built that allows us to leave our home, allows us to come and visit more often. I understand that not everyone has that kind of luxury. Yeah, like half a cup of honey and then half a cup of powdered sugar. That's way too much. Like, I get cinnamon rolls are meant to be sweet, but oof. And that all just gets mixed. Mixture looks like this. Tastes good. I'm going to add my mixed seeds to it as well because everything needs an extra healthy kick. They don't affect flavour much, so I don't think it's a big issue. Honestly, I feel like I should just make these into balls as well. Balls or cookies, what am I doing? I really like that I've experimented with making Bliss balls of different kinds this time, because I always go for the chocolate ones, like chocolates and dates are the typical like Bliss ball recipe with peanut butter. But this time I haven't used any of those 3 ingredients, and the flavours in these are so yummy. Another thing I love to do with Bliss balls, especially once like I've kind of had enough of snacking on them on their own, like you always get to that kind of point, especially when you only have one variety. But I love just popping them into my smoothies in the morning, so with bananas or fresh berries, and it just packs it out with some nuts, some seeds, and also whatever flavourings you've put into it. Just be mindful that if your nuts are pretty coarse or large, they might get stuck in your straw when you're trying to drink. Alright, we are on the home stretch and the last recipe. I was going to make a caramel slice, but to be honest, 1, I can't be bothered making all the layers and having it in my fridge, and 2, I've really enjoyed making the Bliss balls so far and all the different varieties, so this is going to be the 4th Bliss ball that we're going to make today. I'm going to use the same recipe, but instead of having 3 layers, I'm just going to have the caramel layer in a more solid form, and then I'm going to have chocolate that I'm going to coat that in. It's going to be very naughty. I'm going to start with some dates. The recipe calls for 12. I'm going to do double because they're really small, so 2, 6, 8. A cup of nuts. got our dry mixture, and then to that we're going to add all our flavours. I'm also going to speak about the fourth and I guess maybe the final thing that is a downside to country living, and especially after living so close to Melbourne in the suburbs. I definitely feel this more than ever because I experienced what the opposite is like. And that is the lack of activities that you can do in the countryside. Now, you guys know that we love nature walks, we love going down to the beach. There's so much that you can do. You don't actually need to pay for activities in order to have a good time in the countryside, and there's so much natural beauty. But what I do miss is activities like rock climbing, escape rooms. You've got such cool things that you can do in the city that just isn't accessible around here. Like, not a lot of people run those types of businesses. Even things like the hot springs or like going to a sushi train. I don't know, I just miss the activities and the range of activities that you can do in the city. I love not having to pay for things while we're in the countryside to experience fun things. And I mean, depending on where you actually are, you might have more amenities than others. But I can only speak from our own experience, which is what I'm doing. Probably shouldn't have done so much maple syrup. Oops. I just miss having a range of activities that we can do on a regular basis, that's all. Sometimes I want to be able to pay for some really cool experiences. I'm gonna add some more mixed nuts, mixed seeds. Now, I know I said I was boycotting both chocolate and dates, but there's something about this that is so good. Between the caramel flavour from the maple syrup and the dates as well, like, it's just so rich and so naughty. Equal parts cocoa powder and coconut oil, and then 2 tablespoons of maple syrup. I'm going to add some oats to harden those up. Way better. I do hope you all enjoyed the chat today and also the recipes. Let me know if there's anything else that you want me to cover in the future. I'm always curious to know what you guys are curious about. And yeah, I'm so far really enjoying this, so thank you for indulging me in this new period of time for us. I'm going to put these in the fridge once I'm done.